Mastering your own music and mastering professionally are actually two quite different jobs, even if you would use the exact same tools. Today I want to talk about what that difference really is, why it matters, and also share 5 habits professional mastering engineers develop that can be extremely useful when you are mastering your own music. My name is Thomas and I run this channel together with Sofia. Between us we have more than 45 years of experience working as professional mastering engineers, mostly mastering music made by other people. On this channel we try to share the things we've learned along the way to help you make better sounding music. Now, many of you watching are producers, musicians or engineers yourselves, and a lot of you are writing, recording, mixing and releasing your own music entirely on your own, which can mean that you're also mastering your own material. And mastering your own music is actually quite different from mastering professionally. It's not about right or wrong ways of doing mastering. The difference isn't mainly about tools or skill level or even results. It mostly comes down to expectations and responsibility. When mastering is done professionally, there's usually a client involved. Someone else has created the music and expects the mastering engineer to help finish it, without changing what it fundamentally was meant to be. Early in production, the music is still very flexible. Arrangements and sounds can change and the record can take different directions. But by the time a mix reaches mastering, most big artistic decisions have already been made. The artist and producer have decided how it should sound, and mastering is about making sure that vision translates well to the listener. When you're mastering your own music, you're completely free to change your mind about the sound at any point. You can reshape the tonal balance, you can push things further than you originally intended, or you can accept unexpected results if they feel right musically. And this freedom is actually a huge advantage. Because of that, tools like automated mastering or AI services or ozone presets or spectral matching or automatic resonance suppression, all of these can be perfectly valid approaches when you are working on your own music. If the processing introduces side effects, you can simply decide that those side effects are now part of the sound. You don't always need to analyze every technical consequence. You can just go on exploring and see where it takes you. If you like how it sounds, that's ultimately what matters. Professional mastering works under different constraints. When we master someone else's music, we're responsible not only for improvements, but also for every problem that we accidentally introduce. Every EQ move or dynamic change affects something else. So mastering often becomes less about adding processing and more about improving things without creating new problems. Quite often, the goal is to make the master sound very much like the mix, only better. And getting to that point can involve a surprising amount of careful work. So part of the job becomes understanding what each process changes, deciding whether that trade-off is acceptable, and sometimes choosing more manual or work-intensive methods to avoid unintended side effects. This is also why professional mastering often relies on relatively clean and intentional processing chains, because those tend to make it easier to predict exactly what will happen to the sound. If artists and mixing engineers have spent weeks shaping a mix, they generally expect that hard work to remain intact after mastering. Large surprises are rarely what they are hoping for. There's of course room for creativity also in professional mastering. We have some great records in our discography that ended up sounding very different from the original mixes. Some producers and mixing engineers like more drastic changes, while others prefer when the sound of the master stays very close to the mix. That's something you fine-tune when collaborating. But maintaining consistent quality across many different projects requires a lot of deliberate decision-making. So what can you take from this when mastering your own music? Some professional habits are extremely useful. Let's look at 5 of them. First, every improvement comes with a cost. If something suddenly sounds better, ask yourself what else changed at the same time. Processing almost always introduces side effects. Loudness-matched comparisons are very important in order to hear these things properly. The second thing is break large changes into smaller steps. Multiple small intentional adjustments usually make it easier to control side effects compared to one big process doing everything at once, especially with automated tools or multiband processing. The third is protect what already works. Keep checking important elements like lead vocals or key instruments, and pay attention to important musical moments, for example transitions into the choruses. Make sure the mastering isn't accidentally ruining the things that were already good. The fourth thing, pay attention to how much the mix changes. If you end up loving a master that sounds drastically different from the mix, it's worth asking why. Sometimes that tells you the mix itself could use some more work in order to sound closer to the finished vision before mastering. Generally speaking, the closer the mix already is to the final sound, the better the master tends to sound, whether you master it yourself or send it to a professional. And as a side note, if you do send a track to mastering and you have made a DIY mastering that you like, send that too. That's a clear way to communicate your intention. And finally, when you have exported the finished master, make sure the master actually sounds better than the mix. After working intensely on a mix, almost any change can feel exciting at first. Presets or AI tools can add a polish and excitement that just feels good immediately. That's usually a good moment to take a break, reset your ears, and listen again. Compare your master to the mix and make sure that all the things you worked hard to get right in the mix are still sounding great in the master. Compare against reference tracks in a similar style and always loudness match when evaluating. By normalizing the files to the same LUFS before comparing, you will get a sense of how your master will sound on streaming platforms after loudness normalization. And if you feel that's a great idea, but you haven't found an easy way to do this in your DAW yet, then you should use our app, Check Your Master. It lets you compare 2 audio files with loudness normalization directly in your browser. It's free, super easy to use, runs locally, and doesn't upload anything to any server. You can of course also use it for evaluating a master someone else has made for you, and it's a great way to keep us professional mastering engineers in check. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.